Absolutely. It is the last hurrah. And we are going to kick off conference championship week on Friday night, our first game. It's really a game that's for all the marbles. It's got that Ohio State Michigan feel to it here, where there's just so much on the line. And just like with that game, this one here between Oregon and Washington to decide the Pac 12 championship on Friday night, there's no guarantee for the loser of this game that they are getting into the college football playoff. So this ends up being just a massive, massive game. So we will begin right there with Oregon and Utah. Or Oregon and Washington, rather. I got Utah in the brain. We've got Oregon 9.5-point favorites here, total 67. Of course, this is a neutral field for the Pac-12 championship. This game beginning at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. C-Mac, you should be going to this game. How could you not want to go to this? This is probably the best game of the weekend.
Yeah, I don't know. I might go, because this is a Friday night. I might actually go. So, yeah. All right up the road for me. 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes. I bet you I get there quicker. 10 minutes, man.
I mean, that's my first thought when I saw that it was in Las Vegas. I mean, C-Mac might make his way on down to watch this one. And look, this is obviously a massive, massive game between Oregon and Washington. I think it's a damn good chance that whoever loses this game will not make the playoff. You could maybe make an argument based on the dominoes falling with other games involving other teams this weekend that perhaps you could make a case that's still a one-loss Washington team, even as a non-conference champion, would still maybe slide their way in. But even then, it's shaky at best, depending on what your Texas and your Ohio States and so many other teams do this weekend. Alabama, for instance. There's just so many dominoes that have to fall. But Oregon's definitely not going to be in the playoff if they lose this game. As with 2 losses and no conference championship, Washington beating them twice, there's no way Oregon would have a path to the playoffs. So definitely Oregon needs to win to get in the playoff. And I think there's a strong chance Washington probably needs to win to get into the playoff here as well. Not to mention Florida State, because I don't care what you say about the situation there, that Jordan Travis is hurt. Florida State struggles just to get by a mediocre Florida team last week. But there's no way the committee is going to keep an undefeated ACC championship team, assuming they beat Louisville on Saturday. There's no way the committee is going to keep Florida State out, as an undefeated team and a conference champion as well. So that's another domino that has to fall. But the bottom line is these two teams know what's at stake, and to rest assured they're in the playoff, win this game. Just win, baby. They're in the house of, the team that used to be owned by Al Davis, who coined that phrase. So, yeah, just win, baby, in Las Vegas on Friday night, and you'll be in the college football playoff. So where do we begin here? We begin with the fact that Washington has not looked like their old selves, especially on offense the last few weeks. I think that's what really stands out about the Huskies down the stretch. I don't know. Is it Michael Penix Jr. has just hit a wall of fatigue and just the long grind of a season? Is he hurt? I think there is a part of me that thinks he's playing at less than 100%. I truly do think that he's not quite at 100% health. But that still, doesn't explain that just a drop-off in the offense, really, since the Utah game. They struggled to get past Oregon State. They only scored 22 points and didn't score a point in the second half in beating Oregon State as well in that game. So the offense went very quiet in that game. And then in the Apple Cup, now granted the conditions it was a cold, dreary kind of day weather-wise there for the Apple Cup, but nevertheless, that was not a pretty offensive performance either in getting by Washington State 24-21. And keep in mind that had been a Washington State team that had been pretty much lit up defensively in every recent game. So, there are some concerns, as this offense, peaked they peaked early and now they've kind of fallen off just a little bit. But they found ways to win. What's good about Washington's last 2 wins is that the defense, for a change, was able to bail them out in both victories where, Penix Jr. and the offense didn't have to put up 30, 40 points to win that game. Credit the Washington D, which has gotten the job done and gotten better here these last couple of games. But that defense is certainly in for a challenge when you look at what Oregon is doing right now offensively. It's a battle of 2 great quarterbacks. It goes without saying. Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. Nix's numbers are even slightly better than Penix. He has more passing yards than Penix Jr. His touchdown to interception ratio is even better than Michael Penix. I think it's 32-8 touchdown to interception ratio for Penix Jr. It's 37-2 touchdown to interception ratio for Bo Nix. So that is just some outstanding numbers for him. The Oregon Ducks seem to be, I don't know, I just look at these two teams and I think Oregon is really playing their best football right now. I think it started with the Utah win where they went to Salt Lake City, Conor. They beat the brakes off Utah 35-6. And really since then, you look at what they've done, destroying Cal 63-19. The USC game, that was a little closer. That's the one game they didn't cover, but they were in control most of the way. Kind of fell asleep with a big lead. And then the Arizona State game, 49-13, and then a dominant win over a pretty good Oregon State team. Like that was dominance, both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively against Oregon State. I think Oregon's going to get them here because you look at the first meeting, Conor, Washington escapes with the victory, but they were outgained significantly by Oregon in that game, 541-415 in total yards. In favor of Oregon. Oregon was in one of those deals where you think, how do they outgain Washington 541-415 and lose the game? Well, they got stopped on fourth down a bunch of times. That's how. I mean, Dan Lanning has been a very aggressive coach this year as far as going for it on fourth down. They got stopped over and fourth down in that, and that was the difference. They couldn't cash in on those fourth down opportunities multiple times in the red zone as well, where they turn those into points, and they definitely win that game. So, you could have argued they were the better team that day slightly, and they lost. Give credit to Washington. They found a way to win that. But to me, Oregon it's tough to step in front of this group right now. Now, was I expecting them to lay this much? I expected them to be around a touchdown favorite. Did I expect them to be this high now above a touchdown? We're talking now you got to lay 9.5 points against a team that hasn't lost a game this year. Say what you will about how Washington doesn't seem to be playing their best football now. Oregon is, but that's a big number to lay. That being said, I'm not in a rush to bet Washington, even getting all these points, because Oregon's going to want this one. Oregon probably feels they could have won the first meeting, and that is a team that right now is playing better. So I could only look at the Oregon side. Just a question of, do you want to lay almost double digits with the number in its current position? What do you think here, Conor? Pac-12 title game.
Yeah, you hit this. I thought this would be 6 or 7, but that's Washington, just how they've been playing. And really, those two games, Oregon State and SC, where they were small favorites, did they cover? But anything else, I think they're 2-5 the last 7 against the number. And the Ducks keep winning and covering for their backers. They're just riding high, playing their best football. The defense looks really, really good. The best, I've seen from them all year, especially these last 3 or 4 games. And so now we have, 9.5. Now there's some 9s in this game. I thought it was just a little bit too high. But Oregon has everything going for them, playing better. The double revenge. You talked about this game this year. It was so similar. I think they were a little bit better on fourth down, but the stats are almost dead similar to the game the year before, November of 22, that 37-34 game. I went through that.
Oregon outgained them there too and lost. Yep.
Outgained them 592-522. And similar numbers. Penix threw for a little bit more in that one, 408, but he had a pick. Nix was solid. And let's hit the total real fast. Both these games just got over. The numbers right here. I thought if the defense is a little bit better, because all of a sudden the Washington offense hasn't been what it's kind of been lately the last 3 weeks, especially against a Washington State team last week. That did not look good. Now, is Penix hurt like you talked about? I don't know, but something's definitely not right.
No.
It just looks like from the receivers, the timing that was just clicking the first 4 or 5 weeks, they don't look like themselves. So this is tough. And what in that first game, man, either you won with a 2.5 if you got it, you pushed, or if you got Oregon plus 3.5, which I grabbed late, you covered with them in that game, the 36-33. I think in the end it's too close. It's tough because the way Washington's playing, but I think as long as you have a guy like Penix, I think they're in it. It's just this ultimate double revenge. Oregon playing well. Do they go on their romp? I lean the points. I just think it's too many over the touchdown. And the total, I'm going to stay off because I was on both those overs, and it just got over this last game, and the points flowed. It was pretty good the whole way. As it keep doing that this game, because if that happens, it will get over the 66.5. It's come down a little bit, tad bit from 67. So that's tough. I don't know if I play this total now, but I still have to lean the dog, and that's crazy to say because I don't want to back Washington at all. You know? But now you're dangling these points. Maybe I'm a sucker here. I fuck. I don't know. I got to look at this game a little bit more too.
Well, you just said it. You know, it's bet numbers, not teams, is, you know, ultimately what you have to do. Okay, and that's the thing here. I don't think odds makers have done people looking for a discount on Oregon any favors. They have not done any favors to anyone looking for a discount or a bargain on Oregon in this game. Odds makers have clearly adjusted to the fact that these two teams in the last smaller, you know, shorter term, the last month or so, there is a gap between these two. Oregon looks phenomenal, playing their best, both sides of the ball, you know, and it's running the football. Nick's throwing it. Like I say, he's not making any mistakes. You look at what they've got as far as weapons as well with Bucky Irving. And you look at a great receiving core, Troy Franklin and company. I mean, it's just they're loaded and they're playing great football at the right time. Whereas Washington, their defense has had some ups and downs, albeit, you know, it's the defense that's actually stepped up to bail out some of the offensive decline we've seen the last couple of weeks. Rome Odunze has been incredible. You know, there's no doubt about that. He continues to be just an absolute beast. But I find, you know, other than him and maybe Westover, you know, over the middle, you know, there's the other receivers have been sort of subdued, you know, lately in recent games for Washington. And you're right. Penix has just been off the mark, just a little off, you know, because we were just in the first half of the year. Every pass it sent was boom, right in the receiver's hands in stride. And, you know, I just don't think he's had that level of touch and accuracy and pinpoint precision in the pocket, throwing the football down the stretch compared to early in the season. And that's not saying he's been bad. He's just been not that just incredible, just pitch perfect self that he was early in the year.
Yeah, and give it up for, you know, to Bo Nix. The guy's just playing unreal football, and they're the number one passing team in the country. And over those last 5 games or so, like we've been talking about, it's been the Oregon defense just as good. And that's kind of been the difference. And that will that be here in a Washington defense that's slipped. And it shows in all the numbers, too.
Yeah, let's give Bo credit. I mean, we've been doing this show so long, hitting the books here on Pub Sports Radio. And we thank all of you for watching it. And that's why we've been able to do it the last few years running. We started doing this show back when I think Bo was in his first year at Auburn. It feels like ages ago. And look, it never looked like he was going to be any sort of competent, capable, effective college quarterback early in his career. I mean, the Auburn run was not very good for him at all, but credit to him. He transfers out, he goes to Oregon. He obviously is surrounded with good coaching, you know, a lot of great skill position talent, but at the same time, he's got to make that improvement as a quarterback, or else it's not going to matter. None of it's going to matter. You could put everyone around. You could put all the great talent around, you know, Mac Jones right now in the NFL. It's not going to matter. You know, the quarterback has to be able to make it happen. And Bo Nix has done it. He's improved significantly. Accuracy, pocket awareness, poise, decision-making. Man, how many bad decisions with the football did Bo Nix make in Auburn? Interceptions just plagued the guy. When he was there, just turnover machine, and he's just eradicated. He's got 2 interceptions this year. 2. I mean, that's just an incredible number to go this long with only 2 interceptions this year. So I'm torn on this. I wanted to back Oregon. I still think I'd be reluctant to take Washington, but it is a stiff number here at -9, considering Washington beat him last year and this year so far. And the total's tough because you look at the game last year, 71 points. You look at the game earlier this year, 69 points, 2-0 to the over. With these, actually last year went under because the total was 73.5, but it would be 2-0 to the over with this number that we see here for the Pac-12 championship, which is at 66.5, 67. But so I probably want to lean over, but at the same time, you know, Washington's offense is not a team you think of right now is clicking enough to want to bet over a number like this. And their last 2 games have gone way under against Washington State and Oregon State. So it's a tough game all around. Right now, I'm leaning Oregon. I'm leaning over, and I'm not overly confident on either. But I want to throw out something. I'm leaning Oregon still, even at the -9, and I could only look over just based on the series history. But I am concerned about the improvement of the Oregon defense. Even Washington's defense has gotten better the last few games, and Washington's offense just hasn't been piling up the points like they were earlier in the season.
Yeah, the double loss like I talked, revenge, Oregon playing so well. You got to feel good if you like that. On the flip side, the thing if you want to go with Washington is they played with these guys. You can go from that. This team's still undefeated. Like these coaches should get these guys up for this huge game in Vegas Friday night, but they're just not playing good football. So it should be fun.
The thing is, too, you look at the defensive numbers, both teams, and if they're weaker in one area, both teams, it's against the pass. The run defense numbers of both sides are actually pretty solid. If the pass defense, the numbers are a little bit weaker. So I definitely think Bo, as far as receiving yards or passing yards, might be a good, if you can find player props, and there will be player props on this game for sure. Bo Nix over passing yards, I could definitely see it. For sure against this Washington team. I think that's definitely one where it makes sense. And yeah, there's some truth to that. Someone in the chat, books are telling us all we need to know, that Oregon lost to Washington last year, lost to Washington this year, and now here they are laying 9 in the Pac-12 championship game here against Washington. So does that mean lay it or don't play it? Perhaps. But again, the number did come a little bit higher on Oregon than I thought it would, even though I knew they'd be close to a touchdown favorite. And Conor agrees as well. This was a little higher than he thought. But right now I'm leaning Oregon and over. Conor leaning Washington a little bit right now at the current number. All right, we wanted to give that one some more time because it's such a huge game. It's everything on the line there with Oregon and Washington. Guaranteed the team that wins that Pac-12 championship game Friday night will be in the college football playoff.